Welcome to the Worry-Free Podcast by Event Resources. I'm Lee Simmons. Your event can last more than just the one day. If you record it, it can live on forever. And what is IMAG, and do you need it for your event? These are the topics we're going to be discussing today. Joining me is Event Resources videographer Paul Smith. Paul, let's start talking about why you have the guests in person. Why is it a good idea to record the event, even though you could just show up and watch it in person?
Well, a few things. Recording an event is really good for marketing. It's going to be really good for promoting the event in the future again. And it's also very good for people that could not attend the event. So being able to have a recorded a product on your website or offer to people that couldn't be there is key, because now you're able to continually offer the message to people that you couldn't give that message to because they couldn't attend.
And very often, a lot of galas, a lot of any kind of event, I guess, has sometimes a big keynote speaker. So now you have that message, to your point, that if people didn't get to see it at the event, can see it after or again.
Exactly. So you have an important keynote speaker now at your event, and there's people that really would have loved to have been there, but they had other obligations, and they're also willing to donate to your organization. So how do you please them? Well, instead of just saying, sorry, you couldn't be there, and that's the end of it, now you could say, look, go on our website, you're going to be able to see the keynote speaker on there, and at the same time, they'll take the time to donate on your website.
Because I think that's actually a very good point, especially these fundraisers, that the fundraising doesn't have to end when the event is over. To your point, now you have that message that lives on. They can still contribute to the cause and raise money.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that's important no matter what, especially when it comes to today's technology. There's a lot of people out there that are willing to sit down their computer or on their cell phone and be able to call up someone's website and say, okay, I missed this, and also what's good about it too is sharing. So now they're going to point your website to other people, say, hey, this was a great keynote speaker that was on there, you should check this out. That person may also, it's going to snowball, that person's going to now donate.
Which can help for ticket sales the next year, whether someone was on the fence and didn't come and then saw the video and said, oh man, how did I miss this event? Or to your point, they share it, and now that snowballed and maybe other people buy tickets for the event in person the following year, right?
That's true. You know, sometimes there's events out there that people have never gone to, but they always hear about it from their friends. And it's like, oh, you should have been there. And they're like, yeah, maybe next year. But they don't really know what that meant. And now when you have it pre-recorded and they're looking at it and you're able to show them and say, check this out, they're going to be like, yeah, you're right. I do need to attend to this next year. Or I do need to be involved in that organization because that messaging that I saw on that pre-recorded video touched me, and I think I need to be involved.
Yeah. Talking about pre-recording events. So we talked about recording the event itself, but how can recording messages prior to the event, a pre-recorded video, how can that be helpful during the event?
Well, the good thing about that is that say you have an organization that has a certain message that they want to come across, and there's a couple of things. There's either key employees that you'd like to have on your video, or you want to be able to profile certain people, whether it's kids, or if someone that's sick or in the hospital, or just whatever entity that person couldn't be at the event. Well, being able to pre-record their message or their story or why they're involved in your organization is huge. Because what happens now is a lot of people do, when they're at an event, they do like to watch a little something on TV. It's kind of breaking things up. So they go, all of a sudden the tape rolls and there's this screen and they're watching this nice feel-good video about your organization. And that's huge because having that puts a human side to your organization.
And it also can play a factor for sponsorship, right?
Absolutely, because now what you're doing is you can also use it for sponsorship and branding. So now you have a video and you've now attached a corporation to it that's donating to you or is sponsoring your event. And that helps them tremendously as well. Because now if it's pre-recorded, a couple of things. you're able to give their message of who they are, that they've sponsored your event on the pre-record, not just saying it on the stage, because sometimes that can get missed, especially if people aren't really listening to someone on stage, but they're watching that video.
Yep.
Another factor is that if they're watching it on your website, now they can see that that particular entity has decided to commit to your organization.
And as someone planning the event, you could probably ask for a few more sponsor dollars, because now it's not just a logo on a screen. You're actually getting a voice message, a video message. You could bring in more sponsorship dollars for offering that service.
Well, that's true. Now it snowballs. So now here's the nonprofit that goes to a profit organization and says, hey, look, how would you like to have your CEO or your CFO on our video? We'd like to do a feel-good message that they could say, hey, here's why we give to this organization, and can we pre-record that and put that in the package? And now they're telling the audience, they're telling people out there why their organization is now donating to this organization.
Exactly. But what does it take to make a good quality event, to ensure a good quality event, video-wise?
So for the video end of it, it takes a few things. It takes to have a very good quality camera, I would say. So that's important, because in today's world, well, back then let's say during COVID, everyone was so used to their cell phones. And the Zoom and the computer and all of that. And I think a lot of people are now turned off by that. So what they want to go back to is they want to go back to a higher quality image. They want to go to more polished, more professional looking. I think it just looks more professional to the organization.
And what does it take to?
So to do that, you need to have a really good broadcast quality type camera, sharp camera. The lighting's very key. Having that lighting to look very good. You want to have the staging to look theatrical. Have a very good colors. You want to have people wearing particular clothing in such a way that complements who they are, and also complements, their imaging. You know, so they look good on TV. And so there's a lot involved with that.
And you talked about the backdrop. How can that play a factor, like in looking at the quality of the video?
Yeah, so it plays a big factor. So you want to have it so that your backdrops not only look nice for the audience, but they're also going to look nice for the camera imaging. And that means like the having very good colors, having it so that it's not distracting, having it so that the person that's standing in front of it pops, so they come to life with a nice colorful image behind them, and not something that's just plain and there's no detail to it all. You want to have some really nice detail in the background. That keeps people engaged.
A question we get asked often, whether it's a pre-recorded video or recording the event itself, is the clothing.
Yeah.
Can we talk a little bit about the clothing?
Yeah, so the clothing is also very important too. You don't want to have something where there's bright yellows, bright whites, thin lines, thin pinstriping. You want because the camera gets fooled by that. The electronics gets fooled by thin lines. They get this. People will see it as a shimmying, as a meringue. The brightness of a shirt is going to fool the iris. So now people look darker. And what happens is they blame the lighting. So it's going to be like, well, how come I look dark on TV, or how come I look dark in the video? Well, because you're wearing a white shirt, so that it's compensating. Where if we had the camera irised to your face, your white shirt would bloom and be way too bright. So here, we're able to give you that consultation and tell you, here's what you should be wearing in order to make you look good on video.
Another question we get asked often is, how many cameras are needed for my event? Is there one? Do I do 2, 3? How do we determine that?
Well, I think that more than one. If I had the choice, it would be more than one camera. And the reason why I say that is because whether you're pre-recording it, whether it's being streamed, or whether you're doing it as a live event, as an IMAG type thing, you want to have people engaged. And they're not going to be totally engaged outside of the entity, of the arena or where they're at, if you only have one camera that's showing on a podium or one camera that's showing on stage. Once you cut to a wide shot or a medium shot or somebody else in the audience, whatever, Now during streaming, people feel like they're there, like they're participating, like they're part of the audience, and it's not they're just watching somebody talking the whole time on screen.
And I think that's the most important thing. The audience has to be engaged.
Yeah.
Because if they're not, then they're not maybe participating, they're not maybe raising money, participating in like bidding or things like that.
Well, what happens is you lose your message. So what happens is that if I'm watching your event as a streaming thing, I might get lost in the messaging because of the fact that I'm not as engaged as I should be because you haven't drawn me to that.
Right. Kind of relating to that, let's talk about IMAG. What is it and when is it needed?
Yeah, so image magnification is what the term goes for IMAG. And the way that's used is you have a large screen on your event and you have the camera shooting person tight on the screen and that image goes out onto the screen. That's what the IMAG takes place. And what that's good for is a lot of things. You have someone now that's, again, we talk about being 70 feet away from a staging, from the stage event, and they're at a dinner party. You get lost in your group rather than being engaged in what's going on stage. Well, when you see an IMAG image that's on the screen of a close-up, and someone's talking and they're giving their message, whether it's going to be a keynote speaker or whatever, now I'm looking at that screen. Now I'm watching, it's like watching a TV show at the bar, or you're watching it at a restaurant. You just automatically go and see what's going on the screen. Especially if there's stuff that's important that needs to be said, I'm now going to be focused on that screen because I'm not going to be focused on the stage that's 70 feet away from me. And I'm going to be able to hear and see that message.
And you keep saying about the 70 feet, I think that's a good point. That's kind of our rule of thumb. Not for every situation, but if you are an attendee and you're seated more than 70 feet away, we almost always use IMAG for the reasons you said, where if it's a smaller venue and it's less than 70 feet, not saying we can't, but we don't always need to, but sometimes we do it for the reasons you said.
Yeah, I guess so, but another thing that I thought of was that, okay, so you're 50 feet away, but that's 50 feet from the stage back. What about left and right? Yeah. So left and right is going to be, you might have a wide seating arrangement. Maybe not as deep, but you might have a wide seating arrangement. So what about those people that are now left and right? How engaged are they? Where if you have IMAG screens that are left and right of stage, they're going to be more engaged in that screen because they can see a better image of the person on stage because they are left and right of the stage rather than straight on.
Yep. Budget is always a factor, right? I think most people don't understand the factors that are needed to ensure a good quality video, whether it's pre-recorded or it's during the event, that those factors are needed and budget plays into a factor, and that can go through them. You have to pay for the camera operator. You got to pay for the camera itself, all the audio needs, lighting needs. So there are things that are needed to ensure a good quality video that I think kind of get forgotten on the budget factor, right?
Yeah, and I think what's happened is everyone has turned to YouTube, and with YouTube, it's your phone, or it's whatever little camera that's out there, and they think that it's cheap, inexpensive, and you're going to be able to shoot that. That's not the case. You're not going to be able to shoot on your cell phone, or even on one of these little cameras that you would record your kids on, like home movies, in an event like that. It's too big of an event as far as like being able to give that high quality.
It's too important. The event's too important.
Well, not only that, but you wouldn't be able to capture a high quality image unless you're using a high quality lens, a long high quality lens. The camera has to have the ability to be able to iris properly for the lighting that's in these events. Also, lighting is very key for that because you want to have really nice lighting, nice quality imaging on the person. You've got this high quality HD camera that's shooting on a long lens because you're 70 feet away. Yeah. You're not going to be able to do that on your own. You're not going to be able to do that going to Best Buy or whatever to get these little cameras. It's just impossible.
And I think related to that is you're spending this money already on the venue and on production companies and things like that, that is it worth it to spend a few extra dollars to ensure the good quality of the event, the recording, all that, and not spend the few extra dollars and then you spend all this money and you don't get this end result as a recording to the level as you hope for, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think what's important, I would tell our clients that take advantage of us. I mean, the fact is that you would have to go hire a company out there, a marketing company out there to create a video for you that's going to cost tens of thousands of dollars. But look, we're already at the event, and for just a few dollars more, we're going to be able to capture this event for you in high quality, and you're going to be able to use it for promotional and marketing purposes. And also, you look really good when it's on an IMAG screen. It's professionally done.
And when you IMAG, the camera's already there. It's no extra money to hit the record button,
Absolutely.
right? So we have the recording there. That stuff's already there.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like you're gonna. It's a one-stop shop type of thing where you're using our services already. You might as well, if you bring it up to the next level, you've taken care of everything now and also secured what your event's going to be like for the future.
Awesome. All right, Paul. Thank you again for the discussion, and thank you for tuning in to this podcast to learn more about videography, recording, IMAG, and we hope this information was helpful for you when you're planning your next event. Thanks for watching the Worry Free Podcast by Event Resources.